Hello there, fourth grade. I hope everyone enjoyed their autumnal equinox. I hope people are having fun practicing drawing using their depth devices and using their observation skills. Of course, when I ask you to draw from observation, what I'm meaning is I need you to draw the items in front of you. Draw what you see. And last week I asked for 3 sketches. That means 3 practice drawings. This week we're going to examine the role of the still life when it comes to modern and contemporary art. And I'm also going to ask for you to complete 1 composition. So I want you to take your sketches and I want you to build on the ideas of the artist talked about this week. And I want you to make 1 finished piece. Now your finished composition can be colored with charcoal or with oil pastels or with watercolor or crayons or colored pencils or a combination of all of the above. But please work hard, draw big, draw lightly, take your time, fix your mistakes before your race, and at this time I'm going to send it over to my computer so we can examine some of the still lifes from modern and contemporary art. And welcome to week 6. This week we are going to look at modern and contemporary still life art. Of course, modern art started with realism, and we're going to look at some impressionists and we're going to look at Paul Cézanne and Vincent van Gogh, who were post-impressionists. Means they were painting during the 1800s. So we're moving ahead about 200 years, and the still life resurges for different reasons. Of course, if you remember from last week's video, the still life took off in the Netherlands in the 1600s because of the Dutch Reformation and the inability to make religious paintings, but they still wanted to make art with a moral message. In the 1800s, or the 19th century, Paul Cézanne really starts to play with still life because he can build the composition, which is something that was something he was very interested in, and something that he really started to play with, this idea of perspective and how to bend and mold shape, and we'll just look at that in his artwork. So this week I want you to watch this video, select a modern or contemporary artist that works in still life, and make a work of art kind of in their style or in their vein. Of course, you could be making a drawing, a painting, a collage, a photograph. As long as you guys make a picture, I'm going to be very pleased with you. So this is Paul Cézanne. Like I said, he really liked to play with perspective. If you can see, this table just doesn't really make sense at all. It's going every which way. But he was a masterful painter. I really like these apples on the right. He, in fact, one time said he was going to take over Paris with apples. Paul Cézanne made over 200 paintings of just apples. And you see apples and oranges in this. Some of them are very detailed, and sometimes they're just very, very flat shapes. So Paul Cézanne, my art teacher, always credited with being the father of modern art, because he really did start to push abstraction when he started to break apart space and rebuild it. I would argue that modern art started with realism, and when people started painting the scenes of everyday life instead of historical narratives. Next artist we're going to look at, you probably know, Vincent van Gogh. This painting at one time was the most expensive painting in the world. I think it sold for $48 million the last time it sold. So that was a while ago. If you remember when I talked about Leonardo da Vinci's portrait. But here's still lifes he did just to flowers. And flowers are a very popular theme in still lifes. All the way, if you remember during the Dutch Reformation, even the Vanitas often included cut flowers, because that was a metaphor for the fading, the brevity of beauty and the brevity of life. Here's Pablo Picasso. Again, kind of shout out to the Vanitas and the musical instruments here. And if you remember from last week, that is a sign of love. I'm not really sure what everything is in this painting. But if you look, there's a shape, kind of another shout out to the Vanitas in here. Can you guys see the outline of the skull I'm trying to show you here? So Pablo Picasso, in his very abstract and unique way, was paying homage to those Dutch artists we talked about last week. There's the nose and the eyes. So this is one of my favorite still lifes from modern art. This is Henri Matisse. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. He's a collage artist like myself. He's also very interested in pattern. A lot of times you see his work full of patterns. So you can see the leaf kind of pattern on the back left, and you got some kind of really bold, bright colors here making somewhat of a pattern. And in this still life too, very, very simple handling of the subject matter, the very bright colors and very beautiful patterns. And Henri Matisse always tried to make art that was full of joy and happiness. This is despite painting during both World War I and World War II. Salvador Dali, this is called Flying Still Life. Of course it is, because you guys see that nothing is grounded. It's all floating in the air and flying through the air. Just as you expect Dali to do something weird, he does. Georgia O'Keeffe, I was very fortunate to get to go to her museum the summer before last and got to see some of her work in real life. The way that she can handle paint is remarkable. This is a still life. Again, kind of a shout out to the Vanitas and the fact that those are cut, meaning they are going to dry up and die, but she leaves them in their full beauty. She was very close to nature and liked to try to capture it in its beauty. Of course, those are magnolia blossoms, and I can almost smell them. Roy Lichtenstein liked to do a bunch of still lifes, and he would incorporate his comic book style. He was a pop artist like Andy Warhol, and he was very, very influenced by the comic books of his day, which oftentimes look very similar to this. But his paintings are huge. So these are great big paintings just made to look kind of like a comic book, which I think this artwork's really interesting, and it might be the artist I try to emulate. I don't know yet. Patrick Caulfield is a still life artist I most recently learned about. He's from London. I like his simple shapes, simplified forms, really clean lines, crisp, simple design. And I have two more to talk about. This one's Romero Brito. My initial plan was to have you guys make a still life in the style of Romero Brito. He's a Brazilian artist. He's also, like Matisse, is heavily influenced into pattern. And also, like Picasso, is very into simplifying things. So, very much a pop artist. Also, so you see kind of the influence of pop art and the bright colors and the bold colors and the design of it. I see the influence of Picasso with the cubism and the dissection of space and kind of putting it together. And I see the influence of Matisse in the patterns. So these kind of bringing about all kinds of ideas about still life into his work. I think it's very colorful and very joyful. And that might be an artist that I think about when I start to make my still life composition. This is a guy I found trying to dig for still life, contemporary still life artists, and this is one of the most fun ones I found. The painting on the left, this one is called Pop Art, which I think is very funny. I hope you get it. See the balloons and the cactus? I don't know. And the one on the right is called Pineapple Upside Down Cake, which, again, kind of makes me chuckle. Jacob A. Pfeiffer is a living and working artist, and he lives in Wisconsin. He's not too far away, so he's out in the Midwest, and he got his start as an art teacher. So I want you guys to think about these artists that we looked at, and I want you to take your time and select one that speaks to you and make a work of art, make a still life in their style. It's me again, 4th grade. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed looking at some modern and contemporary still lifes. I hope you found an artist that speaks to you. I am going to share that slideshow on my website, so you should have access to that as well as this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please give me a call or send me an email. I look forward to seeing your finished works, and I hope everyone's staying safe and taking care of each other. Have a great week.